It's official. JJ DeBoss just dropped the most devastating bombshell in Street Outlaws history, and what he revealed about the 5 racers he hated most will absolutely destroy everything you thought you knew about Memphis street racing. We're not talking about simple rivalries or petty drama here. This is career-ending, reputation-destroying, industry-shaking truth that's been buried for years. The king of Memphis has finally broken his silence, and the nuclear fallout is already tearing through the racing community like wildfire. Sources close to JJ confirm this isn't just another publicity stunt, this is personal vengeance, years in the making. Multiple insiders are calling this the most explosive expose in racing history, and after what we've uncovered, that's not hyperbole. The man who built Memphis Street Outlaws from nothing is now systematically destroying the very people who helped make him famous. Jaws are on the floor across the racing world as fans realize their favorite show was hiding some of the darkest secrets in motorsports. The controversy bomb just detonated, and the stakes couldn't be higher for everyone involved. We're talking about federal investigations, million-dollar lawsuits, banned racers, and careers obliterated overnight. JJ didn't just name names, he brought receipts, leaked footage, and insider testimony that's making powerful people panic behind closed doors. The 5 racers on his hit list aren't just random competitors. They're some of the biggest names in street racing, people with massive followings and lucrative sponsorship deals that are now hanging by a thread. Word on the street is that legal teams are working overtime, trying to contain the damage before this nuclear truth bomb completely destroys what's left of their reputations. But here's the thing, JJ DeBoss doesn't care about their lawyers, their money, or their threats. After 8 years in federal prison and decades of street racing, this man has nothing left to lose and everything to expose. The silence from these 5 racers is absolutely deafening, and their desperate attempts to distance themselves only confirm what JJ is revealing. Multiple sources familiar with the Memphis racing scene confirm that JJ has been collecting evidence for years, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash this devastating truth. Documents obtained by insiders show a pattern of betrayal, manipulation, and backstabbing that goes deeper than anyone imagined. We're talking about secret deals, stolen sponsorships, sabotage races, and personal vendettas that turned the tight-knit racing family into a war zone. Those close to JJ's inner circle reveal he's been planning this expose since his near-fatal accident in 2022, using his recovery time to piece together a puzzle of deception that spans over a decade. Exclusive footage shows heated confrontations that never made it to television, private conversations that were secretly recorded, and behind-the-scenes manipulation that would make reality TV producers jealous. The evidence is so damning that even longtime supporters of these 5 racers are starting to question everything they thought they knew. This isn't just about racing anymore. It's about loyalty, family, and the price of betrayal in a world where reputation is everything. The internet is absolutely losing its mind over these revelations, and the comment sections are going nuclear with fans demanding answers. Social media is exploding with leaked screenshots, old footage being analyzed frame by frame, and racing insiders finally speaking out about what they've witnessed behind closed doors. The hashtags are trending worldwide, and even mainstream media is picking up the story as the scandal spreads beyond the racing community. If you're already hooked by this insanity, smash that hype button because this story gets 10x more explosive, and we're about to take you inside the most toxic environment in motorsports history. The 5 names JJ revealed aren't just competitors, they're former friends, trusted allies, and people he considered family who stabbed him in the back when he needed them most. What we're about to reveal will change how you see Street Outlaws forever, and the ripple effects are already destroying careers across the industry. The king of Memphis is done playing games, and the bodies are about to hit the floor in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. Let's rewind to the beginning and understand how JJ DeBoss built the empire that these 5 racers would eventually try to destroy from within. Jonathan Day wasn't born into racing royalty. He clawed his way up from the brutal streets of Memphis, where survival meant being faster, smarter, and more ruthless than everyone else. The man who would become known as JJ DeBoss spent 8 years in federal prison, but instead of breaking him, those years behind bars forged him into something harder than steel. Sources close to his early days reveal that JJ used his time in prison to study, plan, and visualize the racing empire he would build when he got out. He wasn't just dreaming about fast cars, he was architecting a revolution that would put Memphis on the map and create opportunities for street racers who had been ignored by mainstream motorsports. When JJ walked out of those prison gates, he had a mission that went beyond personal glory. He wanted to build a family, a crew that would ride together through anything. What he didn't know was that some of the people he would trust most would become his greatest enemies. The foundation he laid was solid, but the cracks would eventually show when money, fame, and television cameras entered the picture. The characters in this story read like a Shakespearean tragedy. Former friends turned bitter enemies, loyal soldiers who became traitors, and a king who trusted too easily. Chris Block Gordon entered JJ's world as a confident competitor with serious skills and an ego to match. Initially, there was mutual respect between the two men, both recognizing the other's talent and dedication to the sport. But Block's questioning of JJ's engine legality wasn't just technical criticism, it was a direct challenge to JJ's authority and reputation in front of the entire racing community. Chad and Jenny Larkin arrived in Memphis like eager students, ready to learn from the master and prove themselves worthy of the family. They brought enthusiasm, skill, and what seemed like genuine loyalty to the Memphis crew. But behind their smiles and respectful demeanor, insiders now reveal there was calculation and ambition that would eventually explode into violence and lawsuits. Axeman represented everything JJ valued in a racer: raw power, determination, and the kind of street credibility that couldn't be faked. Their partnership seemed destined for greatness, with Axeman bringing muscle to complement JJ's strategic mind. The Memphis veterans were the foundation stones of JJ's empire, the original crew members who had been grinding on the streets long before television cameras arrived. These weren't just employees or teammates, they were brothers who had earned their place through years of loyalty and shared struggle. The timeline of events leading to this nuclear crisis reads like a masterclass in how success can poison even the strongest relationships. In 2013, when Memphis Street Outlaws first aired, JJ was riding high with a crew that seemed unbreakable. The show was authentic, the racing was real, and the family dynamic felt genuine to viewers who were hungry for something different from mainstream motorsports. But success brought attention, and attention brought money, and money changed everything. By 2015, cracks were starting to show as individual crew members began getting their own sponsorship deals and developing personal brands separate from the Memphis family. The first major warning sign came when certain racers started questioning JJ's decisions publicly, something that would have been unthinkable in the early days. 2017 marked the beginning of the end with the Chad and Jenny Larkin incident that resulted in violence, lawsuits, and the first public fracture in the Memphis family. The Chris Block Gordon confrontation in Wyoming wasn't just a moment of heated emotion. It was the culmination of months of growing tension and disrespect that JJ could no longer tolerate. By 2020, the original Memphis crew was scattered, with some members quietly distancing themselves while others openly challenged JJ's leadership. The 2022 accident that nearly killed JJ and Trisha became a turning point, as he realized who truly had his back and who was just waiting for him to fall. The first warning signs everyone missed were hiding in plain sight for those who knew what to look for. Insiders close to the Memphis crew reveal that the trouble started with small things: missed meetings, half-hearted efforts during filming, and subtle challenges to JJ's authority that seemed minor at the time. Social media posts began changing, with certain crew members promoting their individual brands more than the Memphis family. Behind-the-scenes footage that never made it to air showed heated discussions about money, screen time, and decision-making that revealed growing resentment within the ranks. The most telling sign was the gradual shift in loyalty, as some crew members began forming alliances with racers from other cities and crews. What seemed like healthy competition and networking was actually the beginning of a coordinated effort to undermine JJ's leadership and steal his thunder. The television producers noticed the tension but encouraged it, thinking drama would make for better ratings. They had no idea they were documenting the slow-motion destruction of a racing dynasty that had taken decades to build. But here's where it gets absolutely nuclear. And what we're about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about these 5 racers and their relationship with JJ DeBoss. The explosive truth isn't just about racing rivalries or personality conflicts. It's about systematic betrayal, stolen opportunities, and a coordinated effort to destroy the man who gave them everything. Sources with direct access to JJ's inner circle have provided exclusive evidence that shows these 5 individuals didn't just drift away from the Memphis family. They actively conspired to undermine JJ's empire while pretending to be loyal. We're talking about secret meetings with rival crews, stolen sponsorship deals, and deliberate sabotage that cost JJ millions of dollars and nearly destroyed his reputation. The most shocking revelation is that some of these betrayals happened while JJ was recovering from his life-threatening accident, when he was most vulnerable and needed his family's support the most. Documents obtained by multiple sources show financial transactions, communication records, and witness testimony that paint a picture of calculated treachery that would make Machiavelli proud. This isn't just about hurt feelings or bruised egos. It's about people who took JJ's trust, his opportunities, and his loyalty, then used them as weapons against him. The level of deception involved is so sophisticated that it took years for JJ to piece together the full scope of what was happening behind his back. The detailed breakdown of this shocking truth reveals a web of deception that spans multiple years and involves some of the biggest names in street racing. Chris Block Gordon's public challenge to JJ's engine wasn't just technical criticism, it was part of a coordinated campaign to damage JJ's credibility with sponsors and television producers. Exclusive footage shows Block meeting with rival crew leaders weeks before the Wyoming incident, discussing strategies to take JJ down a peg and position himself as a more reliable alternative for major racing events. The Chad and Jenny Larkin situation was even more calculated, with evidence suggesting they deliberately provoked the Memphis crew to create a lawsuit opportunity that would generate publicity for their own racing careers. Phone records obtained by insiders show the Larkins were in contact with media outlets and legal representatives before the Memphis incident even occurred, suggesting they were planning to capitalize on any confrontation that might arise. Axeman's betrayal cuts the deepest because of how close he was to JJ's inner circle. Sources reveal that Axeman was secretly negotiating with competing racing organizations while still appearing on Memphis Street Outlaws, using inside information about JJ's strategies and plans to position himself as a more attractive option for sponsors and event organizers. The Memphis veterans' abandonment wasn't a natural drift. It was orchestrated by outside influences who convinced them they could have bigger careers without JJ's leadership. Financial records show several of these veterans received payments from rival organizations during the time they were supposedly loyal to the Memphis crew. The immediate reactions and fallout from these revelations have been absolutely devastating for everyone involved. Within hours of JJ's explosive statements going public, social media accounts belonging to the 5 targeted racers went dark or began posting desperate damage control messages. Legal teams representing multiple parties have been working around the clock, sending cease and desist letters and threatening lawsuits to try to contain the spread of this information. But the evidence is too solid and the sources too credible for this story to be buried. Sponsors have begun quietly distancing themselves from the accused racers, with several major deals reportedly being reevaluated in light of the new information. Television producers are scrambling to figure out how to handle the situation, as several of these racers have ongoing contracts and scheduled appearances that are now in jeopardy. The racing community itself is in complete chaos, with longtime fans expressing shock and betrayal, while others demand more evidence before passing judgment. Event organizers are facing pressure to ban or suspend the accused racers from upcoming competitions, while rival crews are either celebrating JJ's vindication or worrying about their own secrets being exposed. The most telling reaction has been the complete silence from the 5 accused racers themselves. No denials, no explanations, just desperate attempts to avoid further scrutiny. The social media explosion analysis shows this story has reached far beyond the racing community and entered mainstream consciousness. Within 24 hours, hashtags related to the scandal were trending on multiple platforms, with millions of views and thousands of comments from fans, critics, and industry insiders. The evidence we're about to show you is so damning, you need to hype this video to help us expose the truth that powerful people want buried. Racing forums and Facebook groups are experiencing unprecedented activity as fans dissect every piece of available evidence and share their own experiences with the accused racers. YouTube channels dedicated to street racing are scrambling to produce content about the scandal, with some creators reporting their highest view counts ever. The mainstream media has begun picking up the story, with several major outlets reaching out to JJ's representatives for exclusive interviews. The financial implications are staggering, with industry analysts estimating that the accused racers could lose millions in sponsorship deals, appearance fees, and merchandise sales if the allegations are proven true. The ripple effects are already being felt throughout the racing industry, as other crews and organizations distance themselves from the controversy while secretly wondering if their own secrets might be exposed next. The internet turned into detectives the moment JJ's explosive revelations hit social media, and what they uncovered makes the original accusations look like just the tip of the iceberg. Amateur investigators began pulling old footage, analyzing social media posts, and connecting dots that paint an even darker picture of systematic betrayal and coordinated deception. Reddit communities dedicated to street racing have become war rooms where fans are sharing screenshots, video clips, and insider information that supports JJ's claims while revealing additional layers of treachery. The most dedicated investigators have created detailed timelines showing exactly when each of the 5 accused racers began their campaigns against JJ, using publicly available information to trace the evolution of their betrayal. What started as fan curiosity has evolved into a full-scale investigation that's uncovering evidence even JJ didn't know existed. The collective intelligence of thousands of motivated fans has proven more effective than any private investigator, as they've managed to piece together a comprehensive picture of how these 5 individuals systematically undermined the man who gave them their biggest opportunities. Multiple insider sources and leaked evidence have emerged from within the racing community, with people who were previously too scared to speak out now coming forward with their own stories of witnessing the betrayal firsthand. A former crew member who worked closely with the Memphis team has provided exclusive audio recordings of conversations where the accused racers openly discussed their plans to take JJ down and divide his empire among themselves. Text message screenshots obtained by sources show coordination between the 5 racers, with specific discussions about timing their attacks for maximum damage to JJ's reputation and business interests. Financial documents leaked by someone with access to racing industry records reveal a complex web of payments and deals that show how the accused racers were being compensated for their betrayal by rival organizations and competing television networks. Witness testimony from people who attended private meetings and racing events provides first-hand accounts of the accused racers actively recruiting other Memphis crew members to join their rebellion against JJ. The most damaging evidence comes from a former television producer who worked on Street Outlaws and has provided behind-the-scenes footage that was never meant to be seen by the public, showing the accused racers openly mocking JJ and planning their coordinated attacks during what were supposed to be friendly filming sessions. Behind the scenes, power struggles reveal that the betrayal of JJ DeBoss was part of a larger battle for control of the street racing television landscape, with multiple networks and production companies vying for dominance in the lucrative motorsports entertainment market. Sources familiar with television industry politics explain that JJ's success with Memphis Street Outlaws made him a target for competitors who wanted to either control him or destroy him. The 5 accused racers became pawns in this larger game, with outside influences promising them bigger opportunities and more money if they could help bring down JJ's empire. Internal documents from production companies show discussions about replacing JJ as the face of street racing television, with several of the accused racers being positioned as potential alternatives who would be easier to control and manipulate. The power struggle extended beyond television into the broader racing industry, with sanctioning bodies, event organizers, and major sponsors all having their own agendas and preferred outcomes. What appeared to be personal conflicts between racers was actually a carefully orchestrated campaign by powerful interests who saw JJ's independence and authenticity as threats to their ability to commercialize and control street racing culture. Financial and legal implications revealed through industry analysis show that the stakes in this conflict go far beyond personal reputation and extend into millions of dollars in potential losses and legal liability. Contract lawyers familiar with racing industry agreements estimate that the accused racers could face breach of contract lawsuits worth tens of millions of dollars if their betrayal can be proven in court. Insurance companies that provide coverage for racing events and television productions are reportedly reviewing their policies and considering whether the accused racers' actions constitute fraud that would void their coverage. The financial damage to JJ's empire is already being calculated, with preliminary estimates suggesting he lost over $15 million in potential earnings due to the coordinated campaign against him. Legal experts predict that this scandal could result in the largest lawsuit in street racing history, with multiple parties facing potential criminal charges for conspiracy, fraud, and racketeering if federal investigators decide to get involved. But that's not even the most shocking part of this nuclear scandal that's tearing through the racing world like a Category 5 hurricane. What we've uncovered next will absolutely blow your mind and prove that the betrayal of JJ DeBoss goes deeper than anyone imagined. Sources with direct access to federal law enforcement have confirmed that this isn't just about racing drama anymore. It's about potential criminal activity that could land some of these accused racers in federal prison. The investigation has uncovered evidence of money laundering, tax evasion, and organized conspiracy that makes the original betrayal look like child's play compared to the criminal enterprise that was operating behind the scenes. New evidence emerges that shows the 5 accused racers weren't just working together to undermine JJ, they were part of a larger criminal organization that was using street racing as a front for illegal activities. Financial records obtained through sources familiar with federal investigations reveal suspicious cash transactions, offshore accounts, and shell companies that were being used to hide millions of dollars in illegal profits. The most explosive revelation is that some of the accused racers were allegedly involved in drug trafficking operations that used racing events as cover for their criminal activities. Wiretap evidence obtained by federal investigators shows conversations between the accused racers discussing not just their plans to destroy JJ, but also their involvement in illegal gambling operations, money laundering schemes, and drug distribution networks. The scope of the criminal activity is so vast that federal prosecutors are reportedly considering RICO charges that could result in decades in prison for everyone involved. What started as a story about racing rivalries has evolved into a federal criminal investigation that could destroy not just careers, but lives. Key players' desperate responses to these new revelations have been absolutely pathetic to witness, as the accused racers scramble to distance themselves from each other and deny any knowledge of criminal activity. Legal representatives for several of the accused have issued statements claiming their clients were unaware of any illegal activities and are cooperating fully with authorities. But sources close to the investigation reveal that at least 2 of the accused racers have already been approached by federal agents and offered plea deals in exchange for testimony against their co-conspirators. The desperation is so obvious that even their most loyal fans are starting to question their innocence, especially as more evidence continues to surface daily. Social media accounts that were previously used to attack JJ are now being scrubbed clean, with years of posts being deleted in obvious attempts to hide evidence of coordination and criminal activity. Public opinion shifts dramatically as the racing community realizes they've been supporting criminals who were using their sport as a cover for illegal activities. Your hype points are literally helping us fund more investigations like this. Hit that button if you want us to keep digging deeper into this criminal conspiracy. Fan forums that once defended the accused racers are now filled with angry posts from people who feel betrayed and manipulated. The shift in public sentiment has been so dramatic that several racing events have banned the accused racers from participating, while sponsors are not just distancing themselves, but actively pursuing legal action to recover money paid to people they now consider criminals. The racing community's anger isn't just about the betrayal of JJ, it's about the realization that their beloved sport was being corrupted by people they trusted and supported. This isn't just about JJ DeBoss anymore. It's about the complete transformation of an entire industry that's been rocked to its core by revelations that go far beyond simple racing rivalries. The scandal has exposed systematic corruption that reaches into every corner of the street racing world, from television production to event organization to sponsorship deals. Industry insiders are calling this the biggest crisis in motorsports history, with implications that will reshape how racing is organized, televised, and regulated for decades to come. The federal investigation has expanded beyond the original 5 accused racers to include dozens of other individuals and organizations that may have been involved in or benefited from the criminal conspiracy. Industry-wide panic and changes are already being implemented as racing organizations, television networks, and sponsors scramble to distance themselves from the scandal and implement new oversight measures. The Discovery Channel has reportedly launched an internal investigation into all of their racing programming, with several shows being put on indefinite hiatus while producers review footage and contracts for evidence of criminal activity. Major sponsors are implementing new background check requirements and moral clauses that would allow them to immediately terminate relationships with anyone involved in criminal activity. Racing sanctioning bodies are establishing new oversight committees and implementing stricter financial reporting requirements to prevent future criminal infiltration of the sport. The changes are so extensive that industry analysts predict it could take years for the racing world to recover from the damage caused by this scandal. Other celebrities and figures affected by the expanding investigation include several high-profile racers, television personalities, and business executives who had relationships with the accused criminals. Sources familiar with the federal investigation reveal that subpoenas have been issued to dozens of individuals who may have knowledge of the criminal activities or who receive benefits from the illegal operations. Several prominent racing personalities have already hired criminal defense attorneys and are reportedly cooperating with federal investigators in hopes of avoiding prosecution themselves. The investigation has also expanded to include examination of racing events, television productions, and business deals going back over a decade, potentially implicating hundreds of people who thought they were safely removed from the criminal activity. The scope of the investigation is so broad that it's causing panic throughout the entertainment industry as executives worry about their own potential exposure to criminal liability. Cultural and social implications of this scandal extend far beyond the racing community and into broader questions about celebrity culture, reality television, and the corruption of authentic subcultures by commercial interests. Sociologists studying the phenomenon point out that this case represents a perfect example of how corporate money and television fame can corrupt even the most authentic grassroots communities. The betrayal of JJ DeBoss has become a symbol for many people of how loyalty and family values are being destroyed by greed and ambition in modern society. The scandal has also raised important questions about the responsibility of television networks and sponsors to properly vet the people they promote and financially support, with many calling for stricter oversight and accountability measures to prevent future exploitation of authentic communities. Where everyone stands now in this nuclear fallout reveals a landscape of destroyed careers, shattered relationships, and ongoing legal battles that show no signs of resolution anytime soon. JJ DeBoss has emerged as a vindicated figure whose reputation has been restored and enhanced by the revelations of his enemies' criminal activities. The 5 accused racers are in various stages of legal jeopardy, with some reportedly negotiating plea deals while others are maintaining their innocence and preparing for lengthy court battles. The racing community remains divided between those who support JJ and those who still question whether the accusations are true, though public opinion continues to shift in JJ's favor as more evidence emerges daily. Latest developments and updates show that the federal investigation is expanding rapidly, with new arrests expected in the coming weeks as prosecutors build their cases against the accused criminals. Sources close to the investigation reveal that additional charges are being prepared that could include racketeering, conspiracy, and organized crime allegations that would carry sentences of decades in prison. The television industry continues to reel from the scandal, with several racing shows being canceled or restructured to remove any connection to the accused criminals. Sponsors are facing their own legal challenges as they try to recover money paid to people they now consider fraudulent representatives of the racing community. Ongoing legal and professional consequences continue to mount for everyone involved in the scandal, with new lawsuits being filed almost daily as the full scope of the criminal activity becomes clear. This is the kind of content that changes industries. Show your support by hyping this video so more people see what's really happening behind the scenes of their favorite entertainment. The accused racers are facing not just criminal charges, but also civil lawsuits from sponsors, event organizers, and fellow racers who claim they were defrauded and damaged by the criminal conspiracy. Professional consequences include lifetime bans from racing events, termination of television contracts, and loss of sponsorship deals worth millions of dollars. The legal battles are expected to continue for years, with some cases potentially reaching the Supreme Court as they raise important questions about the intersection of entertainment, sports, and criminal law. What's coming next in this explosive saga promises to be even more shocking than what we've already revealed, as federal prosecutors prepare to unveil additional evidence that could implicate dozens more people in the criminal conspiracy. Sources familiar with the investigation predict that the next wave of arrests will include several high-profile television personalities and business executives who were previously thought to be above suspicion. The racing industry is bracing for additional revelations that could expose corruption in other racing series and potentially lead to congressional hearings about the regulation of reality television and sports entertainment. Legal experts predict that this case will set important precedents for how criminal activity in entertainment industries is prosecuted and could lead to new federal legislation designed to protect authentic communities from commercial exploitation. The most shocking predictions suggest that this scandal could ultimately result in the complete restructuring of how racing is organized and televised, with new oversight bodies and regulatory frameworks being established to prevent future criminal infiltration. Unresolved mysteries and questions continue to emerge as investigators dig deeper into the criminal conspiracy, with many wondering how extensive the corruption really was and who else might be involved. The biggest unanswered question is whether the criminal activity extended beyond the racing community into other areas of entertainment and sports, potentially implicating major corporations and government officials. Investigators are also trying to determine how long the criminal conspiracy was operating and whether there are additional victims who haven't yet come forward with their stories. Potential future revelations could include evidence of corruption in other racing series, involvement of organized crime families, and connections to international criminal organizations that used racing as a front for money laundering and drug trafficking. Sources hint that the most explosive revelations are still to come, with evidence that could implicate some of the biggest names in entertainment and sports. The investigation is also expected to reveal the full scope of the financial damage caused by the criminal conspiracy, which could reach into the hundreds of millions of dollars. Final community engagement shows that this story has captured the attention of millions of people who are demanding justice and accountability from the racing industry and entertainment companies that enabled the criminal activity. We're about to reveal the most shocking part, but first, if this expose has blown your mind, give it the hype it deserves, because what's coming next will change everything you thought you knew about your favorite racing personalities. The racing community has rallied around JJ DaBoss as a symbol of authenticity and integrity in a world corrupted by greed and criminal activity. This story represents more than just racing drama. It's about the battle between authentic community values and the corrupting influence of money and fame. The final chapter of this saga is still being written, but one thing is certain: the racing world will never be the same, and the people responsible for this betrayal will face the full consequences of their criminal actions. The truth has finally been exposed, and justice is coming for everyone who participated in this devastating betrayal of trust and community.